Our enemies are speaking of us with scorn and laughter and derision.
No, no fucking shit. Really? You're trying to tell me our enemies speak badly about us? How about that shit? This is the first time hearing of it. Wow. Did not realize that. Enemies don't like us. This is news to me. Did you know that? Trump is enlightening people right now. Oh boy, guys. Just got some interesting news. Sounds like Trump just announced he's running for president again.
Movements.
Here we go. Okay, good. Here we go.
Well, thank you very much, Melania, myself, and our entire family. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. It's a very special occasion at a very special place. You and all of those watching are the heart and soul of this incredible movement and the greatest country in the history of the world. It's very simple.
It's very simple.
There's never been anything like it. This great movement of ours, never been anything like it, and perhaps there will never be anything like it again. There's never been anything to compete with what we have all done.
Subtle shout out to Ron DeSantis that you'll never succeed. You'll never do what I did.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and my fellow citizens, America's comeback starts right now. Two years ago, when I left office, the United States stood ready for its golden age. Our nation was at the pinnacle of power, prosperity, and prestige.
2 years ago? No, it wasn't at all.
Towering above all rivals, vanquishing all enemies, and striding into the future, confident and so strong. In 4 short years, everybody was doing great. Men, women, African Americans.
No, to all of that. Absolutely not. Does he forget the pandemic that took place?
Asian Americans, Hispanic Americans.
No, Asian Americans are doing terribly. Do you have any idea what the amount of hate crime he inspired in New York City alone? Because he kept calling it the China virus and making fun of Chinese people and China in general. He was the root of domestic terrorism, stochastic terrorism on Asian people. This is just him rewriting history entirely.
Americans, everybody was thriving like never before.
No.
There was never a time like this. We turned the page on decades of globalist sellouts and one-sided trade deals, lifted millions out of poverty, and together we built the greatest economy.
Wait, is that something he was going for, lifting people out of poverty? I didn't know that was something he was even trying to do. Well, he failed miserably.
In the history of the world, when the virus hit our shores, I took decisive action and saved lives and the U.S. economy. And by October of...
No, I'm not going to let him get away with that one either. He did not. He stalled and lied about it and said we'd be open by Easter and didn't do anything and was borderline about to fire Fauci and instead tried to replace him with Dr. Birx, who would parrot everything that he said. He was terrible on code. If he'd been better, he may have gotten reelected.
The same year, America was roaring back with the #1 fastest economic recovery ever recorded. How about that?
Okay, I don't know if that's true, so I'm going to err on the side of that's made up because I don't trust a word out of his mouth.
All of the incoming administration and all they had to do was just sit back and watch. Inflation was non-existent. Our southern border was by far the strongest ever.
You don't want non-existent inflation. That would be deflation. I mean, you don't ever get exactly on the button. And even if you did, you don't want that. You want a little bit of inflation. You want the economy to improve and go up a little bit. That would be the goal. So I would hope that there was not non-existent inflation. And there was no border wall either, FYI.
And because the border was so tight, drugs were coming into our country at the lowest level in many, many years.
Trust me, drugs were coming in at the exact same level they always were. You just weren't catching them. It's a testament to the fact that Biden's border is stronger than Trump's, that more fentanyl is being caught. Every time you see a news article saying fentanyl has been caught on the border, it means the border guards are doing their jobs correctly.
Importantly, after decades of rising energy costs, the United States had finally attained the impossible dream of American energy independence, which soon would have turned into energy dominance.
Okay, America produces as much oil as we use. We have for a very, very long time, and we still do currently. So, I mean, we still sell oil and buy oil, from various places. I'm just not sure what he's talking about here. It's all propaganda to make himself look better when he's absolutely terrible.
For the first time in memory, China was reeling and back on its heels. You've never seen that before, because the United States was outdoing them on every single front, and China was paying billions and billions of dollars in taxes and tariffs.
No, Americans pay tariffs. China doesn't pay tariff. You put a tariff on China, and Americans have to pay that. That means when you import goods from China, you have to pay a tax. The Chinese people who are selling things to us are not paying that. Does he really not know how tariffs work, honestly? Does he really not know?
The farmers know that because they got 28 billion of it.
He screwed farmers over terribly, like really, really badly, and that's why he lost a bunch of votes from him.
No president had ever sought or received $1 for our country from China until I came along, and we were getting hundreds of billions of dollars. Many people think that because of this, China played a very active role in the 2020 election. Just saying.
He's trying to use China as a scapegoat and blaming them for his loss, when in reality, he just sucked, dude. He just sucked. Plain and simple, he was terrible. He's awful in every way.
Sure, that didn't happen. Instead of jobs and factories leaving America for China, they were, for the first time ever, leaving China for America.
He's doing China. He's saying that. It's so cringy, dude.
Businesses were pouring back because of our historic tax and regulation cuts, the biggest in both categories in history, bigger even than what Ronald Reagan was able to produce, and he produced a lot.
Ooh, boy, he's calling himself better than Ronald Reagan. That's a tough sell to a Republican crowd, but to the MAGA crowd, I think they buy it.
China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea were in check and respected. They respected the United States, and
no, they didn't at all.
Quite honestly, they respected me. I knew them well. The vicious ISIS caliphate, which no president was able to conquer, was decimated by me and our great warriors in less than 3 weeks. And al-Baghdadi,
Oh, I love how he pronounces his name. Usually he calls him Abu Baker. Abu Baker was his name. That is an absolutely metal name, if I do say so myself. But yeah, Trump did take credit for taking out Abu Baker al-Baghdadi, the self-proclaimed leader of ISIS, basically, as if he was a member of SEAL Team 6 himself or something. Like, come on, get over yourself, Trump. Yeah, you were president when this all went down. That does not mean that you're like, I don't know, that you were like in the military mission that like led the raid or whatever. But, a lot of Trump MAGA people talk about him as though he was in the military. There are like a billion drawings of Donald Trump like wearing firefighter suits or, any of that, any number of other nonsense.
Founder was hunted down and killed. North Korea had not launched a single long-range missile since my summit with Chairman Kim Jong-un nearly 3 years before. We developed a relationship, and that's a
Sounds hot.
good thing, not a bad thing. It's a good thing. Very good thing, actually. 'Cause
Sounding hotter by the second.
look at what's happening today. My opponents made me out to be a warmonger and just
No, they didn't. Did his opponents make him out to be a warmonger? I don't think anybody thought he was a warmonger. I mean, he most definitely should have pulled out of Afghanistan. There were a billion things Trump could have done better on war, but yeah, I guess he killed Soleimani in Iran, right? That didn't help the situation at all.
a terrible person who would immediately go into war.
Well, terrible person, yes, and maybe go into war. I could see that for sure.
They said during the 2016 campaign that if he becomes president, there will never be a war within weeks, and we will have wars like you've never seen before. It will happen immediately, and yet I've gone decades without a war, the first president to do it for that
Okay, Trump went decades without a war? Is that what he just said?
long a period.
Trump just said he's gone decades without a war. He was only president for 4 years. You gotta be kidding me.
The world was at peace.
No, it was not. It was not at peace. There were wars that were going on Trump's watch. He claimed that he wanted to pull out of Afghanistan, but he didn't. He never did he? He left that up to Biden. Thanks for nothing.
America was prospering, and our country was on track for an amazing future because I made big promises to the American people, and unlike other presidents, I kept my promises. I kept them.
No, he didn't. He kept none of his promises, basically. Let's get to it, Donald. Oh, you see what he's doing here? He took a sip of water with a single hand intentionally to show that he's still capable. Because there was that scandal forever ago about him drinking with two hands or whatever. He wanted to make himself out to be a strongman. This is all the strongman propagandistic nonsense that he does. He's all about aesthetics. A lot of fascists are.
Thank you very much. Under our leadership, we were a great and glorious nation, something you haven't heard for quite a long period of time.
Okay, well, in his book, didn't it just happen 2 years ago? It hasn't been that long in his mind.
We were a strong nation, and importantly, we were a free nation. But now we are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation. For millions of Americans, the past 2 years under Joe Biden have been a time of pain, hardship, anxiety, and despair. As we speak, inflation is the highest in over 50 years. Gas prices have reached the highest levels in history.
It's like he's obsessed with gas prices. This is an issue that Trumpists propagandized about leading up to the midterms, not even realizing that. Well, maybe they did realize this, but the president doesn't control gas prices at all. There's not like a gigantic dial in the White House that says gas prices that you can turn. Biden can control it by giving a gas tax holiday or releasing some oil from the reserves, the national reserves. Those are his two methods, the two ways he can control it. And that's it. And that'll only drop it by 20, 30 cents per gallon, and only for a short period of time.
And expect them to go much higher now that the strategic national reserves, which I filled up, have been virtually drained in order to keep gasoline prices lower just prior to the election. Joe Biden has intentionally surrendered our energy independence.
Once again, he says, I filled up. There is I think like an automatic purchase thing that happens anytime gas prices or oil prices fall below a certain level. The U.S. government automatically purchases a bunch of oil to fill up the strategic reserves. So, yeah, of course he did. In fact, Trump may not have even had to have done anything. That may have just been an automatic process. I'm not even sure.
There is no longer even a thought of dominance, and we are now begging for energy help from foreign nations, many of whom find us detestable. Our southern border has been erased, and our country is...
No, it hasn't. It's fundamentally, almost nothing has changed on the border, except for some families have been united.
...being invaded by millions and millions of unknown people, many of whom are entering for a very bad and sinister reason. And you know what that reason is.
Tell me, what is it?
We will be paying a big price for this invasion into our country for years to come. Hundreds of thousands of pounds of deadly drugs, including very lethal fentanyl, are flooding across the now open and totally porous southern border.
It is not now open and or totally porous. It's just as open as it was when Donald Trump was president, first of all. And second, how do you know that there's a lot of fentanyl flowing across the border? You know how he knows? Because we've caught it. We've stopped it from coming across, which means it's not coming into the U.S. I mean, certainly some succeeds in coming across the U.S. But actually, isn't it from Canada? Maybe it is from Mexico. I'm not sure. I probably shouldn't be talking about it if I'm unaware. But yeah, let's keep listening.
The blood-soaked streets of our once great cities are cesspools of violent crimes.
They are not. I live in New York City. This place is the safest place I have ever lived in my life. There is nothing dangerous about this city. I mean, there are some areas that I generally don't go to because some of it can be a little bit dangerous. But by and large, this is the safest city I've ever lived in.
Which are being watched all over the world as leadership of other countries explain that this is what America and democracy is really all about. How sad. The United States has been embarrassed, humiliated, and weakened for all to see.
Well, why didn't he fix it? He said he's going to make it great, didn't he? What happened?
The disasters in Afghanistan, perhaps the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, where we lost lives, left Americans behind, and surrendered $85 billion worth of the finest military equipment anywhere in the world.
More propaganda. This is how wars work. You leave some equipment over there because it's more expensive to ship back, but you destroy it before you bring it back. Or you sell it to like a local country who's looking for these arms or whatever else. I don't even know that it's $85 billion worth. Probably not. But anyway, it's just propaganda. It's all propaganda, as always.
And Ukraine, which would have never happened if I were your president, are something.
I bet. Totally. This is a pro-Russia crowd, keep in mind.
And even the Democrats admit that. That's something I've seen them admit over and over again.
Who? Tell me who. Who exactly?
But our enemies are speaking of us with scorn and laughter and derision.
No fucking shit. Really? You're trying to tell me our enemies speak badly about us? How about that shit? This is the first time hearing of it. Wow. Did not realize that. Enemies don't like us. This is news to me. Did you know that? Trump is enlightening people right now.
Because of those two events. But there are many more. Even just today, a missile was sent in, probably by Russia.
Into Poland.
To Poland.
Yeah, I heard about that. 2 people got injured, from my understanding. I don't know. It may have been updated by now or whatever other thing. But yeah, not good. Not good. That had nothing to do with the president of the United States and could not be stopped or mitigated or whatever. Wouldn't have mattered if Trump was in the office or not.
50 miles into Poland, and people are going absolutely wild and crazy, and they're not happy. They are very, very angry. Now we have a president who falls asleep at global conferences,
What is he talking about?
was held in contempt by the British Parliament over Afghanistan.
What? What is he talking about? I don't understand. This dude does nothing but lie, doesn't he?
Thanks to the words of wisdom, he said thank you to the wrong country for inviting him to a major summit on the environment of all things.
What is he talking about? Is this all made up? I don't know.
They fly for days to get there, and then he calls the country.
They fly for days? Do you have any idea how big the Earth is? Can't you fly around the Earth now in like a 24-hour period, I would have to imagine, or at least to the other side of the Earth, right?
Name that was actually a country on another continent. And he's leading us to the brink of nuclear war, a concept unimaginable just 2 short years ago.
Definitely not unimaginable 2 short years ago. This is something that they literally had drills in the 80s. And yeah, the 80s, I would say. Trying to prevent nuclear holocaust, trying to teach kids how to deal with it. Duck and cover. There was this whole thing about it. It was most definitely not unimaginable just 2 short years ago. He's just completely full of shit.
You cannot mention the nuclear word. It's too devastating.
Oh, God. He's been saying don't talk about the N-word, which is the nuclear word lately. I expected that one. I guess he didn't want anybody to say the actual N-word in the crowd right now.
The Green New Deal and the environment, which they say may affect us in 300 years, is all that is talked about. And yet nuclear weapons, which would destroy the world immediately, are never even discussed as a major threat. Can you?
Are you kidding me? Nuclear weapons are never discussed as a major threat? You've got to be joking, right? You must be joking. First of all. And second, climate change is here. Now. Not in 300 years. Now. It's happening right now. So I don't know what he's talking about.
Imagine. They say the ocean will rise 1/8 of an inch over the next
Your mom will rise 1/8 of an inch.
200 to 300 years.
That is not what they say, actually. Scientists have pretty solid projections for this, and we're on a really bad path right now.
But don't worry about nuclear weapons that can take out entire countries with one shot.
Nobody is saying this.
Something is wrong with their thinking. Under Biden and the radical Democrats, America has been mocked, derided, and brought to its knees, perhaps like never before. But we are here tonight to declare that it does not have to be this way.
Here we go.
It does not have to be this way.
Here it is. We ready?
2 years ago, we were a great nation, and soon we will be a great nation again. The decline of America is being forced upon us by Biden and the radical left lunatics running our government right into the ground. This decline is not a fate we must accept. When given the choice, boldly, clearly, and directly, I believe the American people will overwhelmingly reject the left's platform of national ruin, and they will embrace our platform of national greatness and glory to America.
Trump cannot win a general election. We've discovered this now, especially with this last midterm. Trump can't win a general election. So here are my thoughts. There is nothing better for the Democrats than for Trump to win. Nothing better. He cannot win. And he's going to tear the country apart, or tear the Republican Party apart, more specifically, in the process. If he runs, he will lose, I believe. If he runs and loses the primary against Ron DeSantis, then Republicans will lose again because Trump is going to split the party. He's going to create his own party, and the Republicans will never win another election, basically. That's what I expect to actually happen. God, I hope this guy doesn't kick it before 2024.
Glory. Exactly 1 week ago, our citizens voted in the important midterm elections, and despite a ridiculously long and unnecessary period of waiting, far longer, in fact, than any third world country.
That's your fault, actually. All of that bullshit that this guy spread about election interference or election rigging or whatever else led to like 1 billion laws being passed and this national hype, this fear that the election was being stolen, which made it that much harder to actually run an election and count votes and all that other stuff. This is entirely Trump's doing, and he knows that.
Just a short time ago, the Republicans won back control of the House of Representatives. And it was with a great Trump-endorsed candidate, Congressman-elect Kevin Kiley, who is a fantastic person.
Who? I've never heard of this person.
A fantastic person. And I'm very happy it was his vote that did it. But we now won back. This happened just an hour ago.
Well, I have no idea what he's talking about. Congress was won by who?
Much criticism is being placed on the fact that the Republican Party should have done better, and frankly, much of this blame is correct. But the citizens of our country have not yet realized the full extent and gravity of the pain our nation is going through, and the total effect of the suffering is just starting to take hold. They don't quite feel it yet, but they will very soon. I have no doubt that by 2024, it will sadly be much worse, and they will see much more clearly what happened and what is happening to our country, and the voting will be much different. 2024.
So what is he saying here? Is he saying that like Republicans are gonna never lose again or never win again because Democrats have rigged the vote so much or something? I don't know.
Are you getting ready?
See, there he goes again. He's intentionally drinking it with a single hand and almost struggling. Look, just let me step back and watch again.
Are you getting ready?
Watch. You see? You see? He could barely do it.
And I am too.
He is intentionally doing it with a single hand because he was criticized for it a little while back.
I am too. I do want to point out that in the midterms, my endorsement success rate was 232 wins and only 22 losses. You don't hear that.
Look, my endorsement rate was 100% because I perfectly guessed everybody that was going to get into office. That must mean that, not that I have clairvoyance, but that everybody loves me, right? Everybody loves. I'm the reason why everybody won these elections. That's the logic Trump is using right now. A lot of the people he endorsed had a high chance of winning the election anyways. It was not because of his endorsement that they won. But he's going to take credit, of course.
From the media.
Every election, or many election deniers and Trump endorsees or open Trump supporters specifically lost. It was a very bad night for Donald Trump.
This is an elegant night and an elegant place, and I'm not going to use the term fake news media.
No? Okay.
So we're going to keep it very elegant. But you don't hear that from the media, but I think you will because people are starting to see what happened. That's some score, and in the primaries was 98.6%.
Okay, 98.6%. Did he just take his temperature before going on stage? Is that why that number popped into his head?
But they were still trying to blame me. And the reason for the success and that unprecedented success rate is that the Trump administration changed our nation on trade, on securing the border. We're the strongest, safest border ever in the history of our country. On Islamic terrorism.
No.
We had practically, just about, not that I can think of, no Islamic attacks, terrorist attacks during the Trump administration.
In America, no.
And in fact, we got along very well with the various countries.
Oh my God.
Including coming up with the Abraham Accords. That's a great thing, the Abraham Accords.
This guy.
But it's because of cutting taxes and cutting regulations at the highest level ever, and on building the greatest economy anytime in the
What's the highest level ever? Cutting taxes at the highest level ever. Is that at the federal level? Is that the highest level ever that he's referring to?
history of the world. There's never been an economy like we had just 2 years ago. Despite the outcome in the Senate.
Okay, never been an economy like we had just 2 years ago, except for now. Did you forget about that one? The economy is actually better now than it was 2 years ago by like a mile. So yeah, never had a better economy except for this one.
Senate, we cannot lose hope, and we must all work very hard for a gentleman and a great person named Herschel Walker, a fabulous human being who loves our country and will be a great United States Senator. Herschel Walker, get out and vote for Herschel, and he deserves it.
God, I thought he was going to say, Herschel Walker, get out here. But no, he's not there. He won't have his spotlight stolen by anybody on the night that he's announcing the election.
He was an incredible athlete. He'll be an even...
I'm sorry. On the night he's announcing his run for president.
better senator. Get out and vote for Herschel Walker. We elected a group of incredibly talented America First leaders who will be stars of our party for many years to come. In the popular vote, another thing that's not discussed for the House, we must remember that Republicans won 5 million more votes, the largest margin in many, many years, over the Democrats. 5 million more votes. That's a big thing.
What? What is he talking about? I haven't seen these figures. There were 5 million more Republican voters than Democrat voters? I don't know about that.
Breaking the radical Democrats' grip on Congress was crucial. So in other
Breaking your mom's radical grip on me has been crucial, too.
words, because of our great congressmen and all of our great congressmen and congresswomen, we have taken over Congress. Nancy Pelosi.
Our great Congress guys, our great Congress gals, and our great Congress non-binary pals
Has been fired. Isn't that nice?
Nancy Pelosi has not been fired. First of all, she's still a representative. Second, she hasn't even been voted out as Speaker of the House yet, so we'll see.
I told them, I said, if you just keep a little bit lower standard, you're going to have a big victory. They said, let's win by 40 seats. Let's win by 50. I said,
That would be what was expected. Yes, absolutely. The average the average number of House seats lost in this type of political climate and situation is 28 House seats lost on average, and 4 Senate seats lost on average in this type of situation. But Democrats lost maybe 4 House seats? Maybe? I'm not even sure how many yet. And actually gained a Senate seat. Maybe gained a Senate seat. So, yeah, this is bad. This is real bad for Republicans.
if you win by 2 seats, be happy. But she's on her way to another country right now. She's been fired.
No.
But we always have known that this was not the end. It was only the beginning of our fight to rescue the American dream. And it's a word you don't use. 2 words. I don't want to be Joe. It's 2 words, American dream.
Okay. The American dream is American propaganda. It's not even real. It's never been real. There are countries that can deliver the American dream, quote unquote, way, way better than America. To think America is good at delivering the American dream is just delusion.
That was not good what he did. There are a lot of bad things, like going to Idaho and saying, welcome to the state of Florida. I really love it.
I have no idea what he's talking about right now. They are deeply invested in making Joe Biden out to have dementia when I don't believe that he does at all. And I don't think Trump has dementia either, to be fair. I think that they're both showing their age and cognitively slowing down a little bit, but are both perfectly capable of whatever. Well, Trump is not cognitively capable of being president for other reasons because he has no idea what's going on and doesn't put any effort into understanding things. But that's unrelated to his cognitive abilities. I think he's got the cognitive. I don't think he has dementia, put it that way. Biden
in order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
There it is. I love it. Woo!
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
I love it. This is actually a good thing for Democrats. Very good thing for Democrats. It's a very good thing for Democrats because they are guaranteed to. This is guaranteed to cause a rift in the Republican Party either way. Trump said he was going to start a brand new political party. The Patriot Party is what he was going to call it. If the Republicans refuse to allow him in or refuse to allow him to like be their chosen nominee or whatever other thing. And there was a deal made behind the scenes with McConnell and others that they would continue to support him as long as he didn't create a new political party. They have fully turned on Trump now, completely. The fact that they have turned on him and that he has just announced that he's going to run for president is a big deal, actually. It's a big deal.
So many incredible friends and family here tonight. It's such a beautiful thing. Some people say, how do you speak before so many people all the time? When there's love in the room, it's really easy, if you want to know the truth. It really is. You ought to try it sometime.
I try it all the time, although not in an actual. I've done it in actual rooms, but yeah, I'm talking to 800 people right now. So
together, we will be taking on the most corrupt forces and entrenched interests imaginable.
I bet. Why didn't he take those entrenched interests and corrupt forces before? What happened? He's the most powerful man, arguably, in the world, and somehow, those entrenched forces and corrupt politicians and everybody are still in power. Weird, right?
Our country is in a horrible state. We're in grave trouble. This is not a task for a politician or a conventional candidate. This is a task for a great movement that embodies the courage, confidence, and the spirit of the American people. This is a movement. This is not for any one individual. This is a job for tens of millions of proud people working together from all across the land and from all walks of life, young and old, black and white, Hispanic and Asian, many of whom we have brought together for the very, very first time. If you look at the numbers, if you look at what's happened with Hispanic, with African American,
Look at what's happened with Hispanic, with African American. I know. Look at African American, right? Such a thing happening right now with African American.
Asian, and just look at what's happening. This is a party that has become much bigger, much stronger, much more powerful, can do much more good for our country. This is a job for grandmothers and construction workers, firefighters, builders, teachers, doctors, and farmers who cannot stay quiet any longer. You can't stay quiet any longer. You're angry about what's happening to our country. Our country is being destroyed before your very eyes. It's a job for every aspiring young person and every hard-working parent for every entrepreneur and underappreciated police officer who is ready to shout for safety in America. The police are being treated so badly. These are great people. They can straighten out the crime. They're the ones that know how to do it. We have to give them back their respect and their
Police are the ones that know how to straighten out crime. Okay.
dignity.
I would have gone with criminal psychologists or sociologists, but okay. People who carry guns, I guess, is one option too.
This will not be my campaign. This will be our campaign all together. Because the only force strong enough to defeat the massive corruption we are up against is you, the American people. It's true. The American people, the greatest people on earth. We love them all. And we love both sides. We're going to bring people together.
Yeah, Trump is going to bring people together. Absolutely. Why does he even bother saying this? He knows that he doesn't want to bring people together.
To unify people. And it was happening in the previous administration.
No, it wasn't at all.
Previous to the previous.
No, he was all about owning the libs. That was like his whole goal. He was a culture warrior to the core. He wanted to hurt other people, hurt his enemies. He set out to hurt his enemies. This is not true in any way. Who does he think he's fooling?
And what was bringing him together was success. Prior to COVID coming in, the people were calling me, you wouldn't believe it. People that were so far left, I figured they'd never speak to me and I would never speak to them. But our success was so incredible, like never before. And then COVID started coming in from China. We call it the China virus. Some people call it other things. But it was devastating, and we built it back and did an incredible job. But when people say Republicans or Democrats or liberals or conservatives, I say we can all get together. And we were doing that. That was happening just
No, it wasn't.
prior, because the success was greater than this country has ever had. We were leapfrogging China and leapfrogging everybody else. And
no, we weren't.
everybody wanted a piece of it. But just as I promised in 2016, I am your voice. I am your voice. The Washington establishment wants to silence us, but we will
If he's my voice, then I want some antipsychotic medicine.
not let them do that. What we have built together over the past 6 years is the greatest movement in history, because it is not about politics. It's about our love for this great country, America, and we're not going to let it fail. I am running because I believe the world has not yet seen the true glory of what this nation can be. We have not reached that pinnacle, believe it or not.
Ultranationalism.
In fact, we can go very far. We're going to have to go far. First, we have to get out of this ditch. And once we're out, you'll see things that nobody imagined for any country.
This is what he said in 2016. I thought, you had 4 years, man. What happened? Why are we not out of this ditch already?
It's called the United States of America, and it's an incredible place.
Never heard of it. This is the first time hearing. Tell me more.
We are Americans, and we do not have to endure what has taken place in Washington, D.C. This is our country, our government, and the corridors of power, they're our corridors. They're not their corridors. These are our corridors.
He's fooling moderate centrists. That's fair enough. I don't think he is, actually, but that's who he's shooting for. You're right. You're absolutely right. That's who he's trying to get to right now.
And we are coming to take those corridors back.
Is he saying quarters? What is he talking about right now? Quarters?
So from now until Election Day in 2024, which will come very quickly, we'll go, look at how time flies. Look how fast it's all going. I will fight like no one has ever fought before.
Okay, and I can't wait to see it. This is going to be deeply entertaining to me. Just going to be great.
We will defeat the radical left Democrats that are trying to destroy our country from within, and likewise protect us all. We want to protect us. We have to be protected from all of those nations out there that are looking to destroy us from beyond our shores. There are lots of nations that hate us gravely. And that's the problem. When they look at us in disarray like we are right now, when we go to them begging for oil and we have more liquid gold under our feet than they have or any other nation has, and we don't use it.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of oil in the United States, but we are using it, actually. As far as I know, we're pumping as much oil out of the ground as we are using. We're producing as much as we're using, to my knowledge. That may have changed since I looked last. I don't know, but
Because we're going to them, it's crazy what's happening. We can't let it continue. Joe Biden is the face of left-wing failure and Washington corruption. He had a big G20 dinner tonight. Everybody flew over to wherever they flew over, and guess what?
Oh, and Trump is probably seething because that wasn't him in that seat.
But he never showed up. They're still looking for him. What's going on? G20, I used to love that. The leaders,
Told you, that's what's on his mind. All right, well, I'll tell you what, guys, that's what I'm going to have to call it for now. I appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with me. It's been a lot of fun. It's too bad because numbers are ticking up, too. That's all I've got for you this time. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check me out on Patreon. And let me know if you want to see more stuff like this in the comments or on Twitter. Thanks for watching, guys.